My name's Lee Rulofsa. I represent REP, which is the Real Estate Partner Platform. I am one of the admins. Meryl started the Real Estate Partners Platform to help the industry. What happens is that she talks about various articles that is relevant for the industry. She talks about various workshops, trainings, and Meryl Miller, I'm introducing her because she's one of the stalwarts in the industry. She advises most of us. We all still learn from her, even myself. On the REP site, she's actually put a lot of great articles. Please do yourself a favor, read them because it gives you advice. She also talks about various changes in the training sector, and she does a lot for the industry as a whole. I also assist. I am with a company called Infinity Academy. We are an accredited training provider. We ensure that everybody becomes qualified. I'm not going to go through all that, but you've got to do your workplace, your NQF4, your PDE4, and then to become a principal, you've got to do the NQF5 and PDE5. We've also got Aldi's, who's also an accredited training provider, who I really enjoy working very closely with. Michelle Taylor Rebel is the facilitator and assessor. And then we also got Tanya that also represents them. And between the two of us, we powerhouses making sure everybody becomes qualified. We then also have Natalie. Natalie works with the PPRA while all the agents are selling and making their commission and making their money. You've got Natalie in the background assisting you, trying to get your registrations done, helping you get exemptions for education. And that is basically, I know she works all hours. And we've got to also realize is when the PPRA system's down, nobody can do anything. And I know that Natalie does her best and she does keep her clients informed. So we want to also thank Natalie for what she does. What I want to also talk about is a little bit of the changes that happened last week. And remember, on the 18th of March, the PPRA asked me to do a talk for them. I'm talking about the new qualifications, which I did do, and a lot of you were on that talk. But what happened was we also have Peter Swart from SAQA that was adamant saying that the new qualification was not going to be extended from the 1st of July. So what happened was Aldis and myself were pushing everybody to register before the 1st of July to make sure that we're on the legacy system and on the Services CETA site. However, on the 11th of June, Minister Buti Manamela did a talk, a media briefing, saying that there were going to be qualifications that were extended, and he broke them down in sectors. He said Section A, B, C, and what he had basically said was Section A were those that were already on the QCTO platform or already had the qualification developed would not be extended. And then in category B, he said those were those that are still on legacy and the new qualification hadn't been developed on the new QCTO framework, those would be extended. But he then said it would be gazetted on the 15th of June. So we all waited for the 15th of June, and various people were sharing other databases, but it wasn't the official one from SAQA. But late 17th of June, SAQA actually released the list, and on the list it showed that the legacy NQF4 59097, the FET real estate, was being extended for 24 months. So I know that was a relief for many. However, the NQF5 is not being extended, the legacy one. So if you've done your NQF4 and you've done your workplace, you've done your NQF4, you've written your PDE4, you are now a qualified agent. If you want to be a principal, please reach out to us. We need to register you on the Services CETA site before the 1st of July. All we need for now is your ID number, your name and ID number so that you're on the system. We can train you later for the NQF5, but we've got to make sure you are on the system. The reason we're also trying to push that you're on the system before the 1st of July, because with the new syllabus through the QCTO, you have to do what you call a knowledge, a practical, a workplace component, and you have to write a closed book PISA exam, which is external integrated summative assessment, and your PDE-4. Now, if you fail that ESA exam, you can't write the PDE-4. So it's a lot harder. So my advice to you now is register with us for the NQF 5, just so that you're already on the system and it gives you that leeway for not having to write the ESA exam. With the NQF 4, you can still do the old syllabus. We've got your back. Together with Aldi's, we do the workplace. We also work with Aldi's to do the RPL NQF 4. Often being asked why the RPL. Guys, what you learn in the workplace is what you're going to do in the NQF 4 anyhow. So you're going to be taking a lot of the information from workplace and you're going to use it for your NQF 4. So we work with you. We know what's in the syllabus. We help you. We guide you. And I just want to say thank you, Meryl, for bringing us together, because we are going to be doing regular essential skills at no charge. We also thank Svenja, but I'm going to introduce Svenja now. I'm going to hand over to her to do her wonderful talk. Now, guys, everybody says, why Svenja? Let me tell you, in the industry as real estates, we are under immense stress. Whether we're running a real estate agency, we also have, you're a property practitioner, you're a candidate a practitioner, you're a principal, you are under so much stress. You are all independent contractors. You work on commission only. And what happens is you get so despondent. You sit there and think, oh, I'm not making money this month. Am I in the right industry? Am I doing the right thing? And you start questioning yourselves and you become negative. And we all know is when you're negative, you cannot perform. And all we, as being independent contractors, we need to try and motivate ourselves all the time. And that's why we've brought Svenja on to do a 4-part series to help us fix our minds, to help us focus, to help us get positive. But I'm not going to say too much about Svenja. I'm going to introduce her and I'm going to let her do the balance of the talk. Svenja Cryer is a conscious self-leadership coach. Wow. NLP trainer and facilitator with a passion for helping people understanding themselves and others more deeply. We all need that, including myself, and I'm sure you can all verify that thinking the same as myself. Through practical tools, real-world insights, and an engaging facilitator style, she helps individuals and teams improve communication, navigate challenges, and create meaningful, lasting change. Thank you, Svenja. It's a 4-part series. There was one last month. This is the 2nd-part series. Next month, it will is the 3rd part, which is the last Thursday of the month, and then the following month is the 4th part. So please make sure you be on these parts because it is valuable to help fix you. Over to you, Svenja.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you so much. Thanks for the introduction. And yeah, thank you, Meryl, for bringing me on board and for creating this really beautiful platform and for helping your industry. It's phenomenal to have this this foundation of support. Certainly in a lot of industries, people don't find themselves being as supported. So yeah, really beautiful to be part of this. Thank you. And lovely to see names. I'm so used to seeing faces. So it is a little bit different for me to not see faces, but I am imagining these really amazing engaged faces on the other side of the screen. So yeah, thank you for having me here today. As always, I like to start the sessions with just a little bit of a grounding breathing exercise. What tends to happen is that we rush through life so fast. There are things on your mind, there are things that you had to do already this morning that you still need to do, those to-do lists. I'm sure that your phone is vibrating, the messages are coming through. And so that constant being switched on means that our nervous system is permanently in that kind of fight or flight response mode. And it's really important and really necessary to take a few moments throughout your day just to center and to ground yourself, especially as you're preparing to learn something new. So I really invite you, regardless of where you are and what you're doing, can you put your phone down just for a minute? And if you feel comfortable doing so, you can close your eyes, or maybe you can just look down and just take a deep breath. When we're rushing through life, our breath tends to be limited to the upper part of our chest. And so I really invite you to just slow your breath down and to fill your whole lung capacity. That's what our lungs have been designed to do, is to fill up with air. And then really allow your lungs and your ribcage to squeeze that air out. And let's do this one more time, breathing in and really filling up your lung capacity. And breathing out. And noticing whether that already feels different for you. And as I said, I really invite you to do that a number of times throughout your day. It's especially in the busyness that those pauses and those moments to breathe are really, really important. So as Lee mentioned, this is the second part of a 4-part series that Meryl opened the floor for me to share with you and to offer to you. And I'm really grateful, and I'm really excited to be sharing something that sits really, really close to my heart, and something that I feel really passionate about, and that's about helping you to understand yourself, because awareness creates choice. There's that beautiful saying, what we are unaware of controls us. What we are aware of, we can control. And so basically this 4-part series is about understanding the dynamics at work and what's behind the behavior. Because how you behave, the things that make you act or react the way that you do, there is stuff that sits underneath that. And I'm hoping to create a little bit of, or shed a little bit of light on that. So today's session is all about the dynamics that we unknowingly create. And this is about understanding sometimes unhealthy dynamics. Of course, we have really beautiful, amazing, healthy dynamics, because that's why we do what we do. And at the same time, we also have some unhealthy dynamics. And let's explore them for a minute. So here's a question for you. Have you ever found yourself solving someone else's problems? Carrying more than your share? Feeling frustrated because nobody is listening to you? Maybe feeling responsible for everybody else, or blaming someone else for a situation? So just take a moment and just notice whether any of those resonate. And I like to check in with my body, because our bodies are phenomenal signalers. So they offer us these signals all the time. And if something like went, oh, that resonated, or oh, I'm not so sure that I like the sound of that, that's normally an indication that that's something for you to possibly consider or to look at. And this is, of course, something that we all do. I mean, I so many times have felt responsible for other people and wanted to help and carry other people's problems. So here's the thing. What if what you are feeling wasn't only about the problem itself? And this is now for us to explore what sits behind that. So I love offering reflections, these opportunities for you to just wonder about how it pans out for you in your work situation and in your work life. So the question that I have for you is, if you think of a workplace relationship that consistently frustrates you, what is it that makes it challenging or difficult for you? And maybe you want to write these down, or maybe you just want to take a moment to just kind of think about them and, yeah, just dwell on them for a little bit. So in last session, we spoke about transactional analysis, and transactional analysis is this model that helps us understand the states that we speak from. So it doesn't define us as human beings, because within all of us, we have got these ego states. Within each one of us, we have a parent, we have an adult, and we have a child. And the intention, ideally, in the ideal world, is for us to navigate relationships adult to adult. But of course, we are human beings, and that doesn't always happen. And so this beautiful iceberg is such a reminder for us that there's that which is seen on the surface, and then there is a whole lot that sits underneath. And so these workplace tensions, and of course there's home place as well, right? Because this self-awareness work doesn't only relate to the workplace. Now in this kind of instance and on this platform, we're speaking about the workplace, but all of this happens at home. It happens within our friendships. It happens within our parenting style. These tensions are not created only by the challenging situation. Because under pressure, we often step into predictable roles. We put on those masks that we're not even aware that we put on. So let's explore them, because this is something that Richard Karpman created. It's called the drama triangle. And he based it off of Eric Burns's work with transactional analysis. And the drama triangle is this really incredible model that helps us to understand the dynamics that take place within a relationship. And it's not to say that these are defining roles. This is just a self-awareness tool to help you understand what sits behind the behavior. So the drama triangle basically has the victim, the rescuer, and the persecutor. And I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment, because I do particularly love the drama triangle. And there's some videos available online as well that you could, if you kind of Google the drama triangle. And one of them is all about the enactment of it. And I quite like that, like going into, that kind of acting it out to make it so silly that you realize the truth and the reality behind it. So the victim is that like petulant child that's like, oh, everybody hates me. Nobody wants to work with me. It's all somebody else's fault. That like, I mean, I've certainly noticed that and felt that many times in my life. Like, oh, woe is me. I'm going to go eat some worms. The hero is that like, oh, I'll save you. I'll make it better. Don't worry. I'll fix this for you. I have also often stepped into the rescue of the hero mode. And then the persecutor. So the persecutor is that energy that is really critical, that is quite dominating, that will, swear at somebody, will tell somebody that they're an idiot. Can you get a sense for these different aspects and roles of the drama triangle? So the victim, the rescuer, and then the persecutor. So let's dive into them just a little bit more to understand them in relation to all sides of it, because of course, all roles have got the good and the not so good. So the victim, how this may display, so how you may notice the victim kind of role, the victim mentality. I don't know what to do, or this always happens to me, or oh no, that's impossible. I think actually in one of my future talks I might speak about the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset, because it's impossible very much speaks into that. Now, let's just think about what sits underneath that. Well, I don't know what to do, or oh, this always happens to me, nobody likes me. The underlying needs for that person might be that they might need support, they might need certainty, they might need empowerment. And a workplace example of a victim might be, or victim mentality, the victim role would be blaming the market, saying it is the market's fault that I'm not doing well. Or that client is so difficult. It's all their fault that the deal fell through, or they are being such a pain, or management is being so difficult. They're being so challenging to work with, blaming work head office or colleagues as an example. There are also gifts to this role. The gifts might be vulnerability and or a willingness to ask for support. So remember that it's not all, I like to use the words light and dark versus good and bad. That's just my personal preference. So it's not all dark, there is also light, and the light is that being the victim or having this victim role can offer us, lots as well. This TA, so transactional analysis, so the victim would often be associated to an adapted child. So in TA, we were speaking about the adult, the child, and the parent. So here's a reflection for you. When things feel really difficult, what do you tend to blame? So is there lots of finger pointing out? It's other people's fault, it's the market's fault, it's the area's fault because that area isn't doing well, it's the crime's fault, it's the government's fault. Where are you assigning blame? And how much of that is kind of being reflected back? Good. I hope that you are all still with me. So let's explore the rescuer. And for those of us that are in industries where we really want to help people, so not only in my industry as a coach, but also in your industry as being an agent, you want to help people, right? You want to help people make their dreams come true of buying that incredible new home or of selling their home and making their money out of it. There are all these opportunities for you to help people. The thing is, though, that do you want to be moving into the dark side of that role? It might display as, don't worry, I'll do that, even though inside you're like, oh my word, I've got no time. I can't fit this into my schedule. But the words that come out of your mouth to the client or to the principal or to your managers, don't worry, I'll do it. Or let me fix that. But maybe sitting underneath this is wanting some level of significance. So wanting to feel important, wanting to feel special, wanting to feel needed, and of course that connection. So it's all of these drivers that sit behind our behavior. Workplace examples might be over helping your clients. Your client is like, oh, I don't know, I feel so overwhelmed. I don't know how to fill in that form. And you're like, don't worry, I'll do it for you. I'll tell you what, I will come and meet you at 8 p.m. tonight when you get home from work, and I'll sit with you at your dining room table whilst my children are having dinner on their own, and I will help you to fill out that form. Have you ever done that? I'm sure that you have. Solving everyone else's problems or taking responsibility for stuff that does not belong to you, it belongs to other people. So let's say, for instance, that somebody didn't list something properly, or maybe the board didn't go up, and it's not your responsibility, but you went to go fix it because that was important. And then, of course, staying late because nobody else will do it. I'm sure we have all done that many times. The gift, the light of this role is care, generosity, and contribution. And in transactional analysis, this rescuer, this hero, is often associated with the nurturing parent. So remember now, we've been sitting with the adapted child, the nurturing parent. Neither of those are adult. So in terms of the rescuer, the reflection for you is, where might you be doing too much for others? How much do you overextend yourself in order to help other people? Well, here's like the real biggie, right? How many times do you say yes when in your mind or in your body you actually really want to say no? I don't know whether any of you follow Brene Brown. She's a phenomenal motivational speaker and has written some brilliant books. And she speaks about I'm not going to swear necessarily here, but she speaks about like a hell yes or a hell no. And if it's not a hell yes, then it's got to be a no. So let's move over to the persecutor. The persecutor is often that role or that aspect that I don't want to, I don't relate to that. I'm not critical. I'm not judgmental. And in fact, actually, if you think of the self-talk, the internal dialogue, I'm sure that there's a lot of this persecution going around. It's not necessarily externalized, or maybe it's externalized passively. You've heard about the term passive aggressiveness. There's this passive, like it's sugar-coated, the criticism, the blame, the judgment, the impatience. The underlying needs for that role or for that aspect is to need to have control because maybe the situation is feeling out of control. It could also be needing certainty and also needing protection. So let's look at workplace examples. Frustrated managers, they tend to kind of like do a lot of like verbal dumping, a lot of like roar coming out and then just being dumped on you. And then what do you do with it? You kind of sat there holding this weight of, her frustration. It could also be really difficult clients or harsh feedback. So I don't know whether you've been on the receiving end of harsh feedback or maybe whether you've given really harsh feedback. And of course, irritation when standards aren't being met. And in your industry, I'm sure that there are charlatans like there are in every industry. And so there could be irritation at, doing things the right way and those that don't do things the right way. The gift, the light of this role is boundaries. And boundaries are really good and they are really healthy when they are set healthily. And then, of course, standards and directness. So the transactional analysis aspect of this is often related to the critical parent. So remember, we had the nurturing parent with the rescuer, and this is now related to the critical parent. So here's a reflection for you. What happens when your patience runs out? What happens when you feel irritated? What happens when you feel exhausted at the end of the day? Because that's the other thing, right? Is that when we are mentally, emotionally, or physically exhausted, it's so much easier to move into the persecutor role because there's this need to let go, release, and it ends up coming out, oftentimes not in a way that we necessarily intend. And then there needs to be a little bit of pulling back and apologizing, right? Yeah. So I would love to just, wherever you are, just take a moment to kind of just shake that off. Moving the body and shaking it is really good just to help the brain to go, whoa, again, like that's quite a lot of information. So just allow it to land in your cells. It doesn't all have to cognitively make sense right now, but just trust that it's landing. And if there are things that I've shared or spoken about that you're like, oh wow, maybe you've had some ahas, and that's amazing. And I'd love to hear about it afterwards if you want to share. Good. Let's go back to it. So here's the thing with the drama triangle is that none of us ever only sit in one corner of it. So within one day, we could move between victim, rescuer, and persecutor. So if you just think about your day, even yesterday, were there moments where you went into victim, feeling a bit like, oh, like shit, man, it wasn't my fault, or like that person was really horrible to me. They could have spoken nicer, or like this market, I wish it was better. Or maybe you went into that rescuer. Oh, don't worry, I'll fix this. And inside you going, oh my word, like I've got another appointment to get to. I really want to get home. I'm just going to pick up my kids from school. Or maybe you went into persecutor and you gave that feedback, or you said those words that afterwards you were like, oh, maybe that wasn't the best way of handling that, or the best way of addressing that. So the thing is that nobody lives permanently in one corner. And the exhaustion that we experience comes from us moving around the triangle, because it's the drama triangle. And that's why it's called the drama triangle, is because when we're looped in drama all the time, it's exhausting. If you remember Igorli and Bold and Beautiful and these drama series on TV, they were always like, oh my word, there was always something happening. And that's exhausting to be in permanently. And so the intention is to actually recognize when you're in the drama triangle and to use the tools in order to move out of the drama triangle. And here's the other really interesting thing is that, remember, we were relating it back to transactional analysis. The adult does not sit on the drama triangle. And if our ideal is to be meeting another person, adult to adult, then we need to step off or out of the drama triangle. So, which role do you most easily step into when you're under pressure? And, Lee spoke about how pressurized your industry is. There's pressure from all directions, from the client, from your principal, from the government, and from the regulations and the governing bodies, and there's pressure from all sides. And then, of course, added to that, there's life that happens. There's a car that doesn't start in the morning, or there's a cell phone that freezes, or there's a laptop that falls into the swimming pool. These things happen, and so when all of this pressure accumulates and it happens, what do you more easily step into? Victim, persecutor, or rescuer? So let's paint a little bit of a real life example. I love AI. I mean, look at these awesome images that it's created for me. These aren't like real human beings that I know of. I just said to AI, please make me 3 images, and one needs to be stressed. So that's the stressed client, right? And clients, when they are navigating the purchase or the sale of a property, there is a lot of stress. They say that moving house is along one of the 3 most stressful things that you do: death, moving house, and I think it's losing your job. I'm not too sure. Are like the 3 most stressful things that you can navigate in your life. So being a client, and even though it may be super exciting to be purchasing a new property or to be selling and to be upgrading, there is still a lot of stress that happens, right? So this client is feeling really stressed. Then you can imagine who that person is in the middle, right? So that's the agent that's like, oh, I'll help you. I'll make this better. Oh my word, I'm going to make this smooth sailing for you. You're going to end up with that dream home. And then the other person could either be the frustrated manager. They're like, oh, like, get it together now. You've got to close this deal because we need the money, or whatever it is that's driving it. Or that could also be the agent who loses that energy for being the rescuer and eventually then becomes the persecutor. So you've got a client, and let's call her a her. Let's call her a she for the purposes of this example. And she is initially so excited about buying this new property. She's found it. It's in the most beautiful location. It's amazing. It's going to give her the access to the schools and the shopping centers and all the things that she wants. Then comes all the paperwork. And she's like, oh, my hat, I had no idea that it was so much work. It's the bond applications and approvals, and it's the this bank, and it's the that, and then it's this documentation, and oh gosh, I don't have that proof of income. And she's beginning to feel really, really, really stressed. The agent is like, don't worry, I'm going to make this as smooth as possible. I'm going to help you out every step of the way. I'll be there to help you sign the documents. I'll bring them after hours. Like, really, really don't worry about it. The client, because they've got this agent who is so willing to help them, could very easily slip into the oh woe is me mode, like, oh, like I really can't do this and I'm so overwhelmed and it's not possible, which then encourages the agent to step in even more. So can you see that victim rescuer dynamic and how it increases because they're starting to play off of one another? And then it could reach a point, as I said, where the agent eventually is so hurtful of like bending over backwards for this client, and the client just stays in victim mode and oh, woe is me, that eventually the agent could become the persecutor. And like, okay, I've explained this to you like 100 times, or I've sent you this documentation at least 3 times, or like, no, we cannot meet at 9 o'clock at night anymore or on a Sunday afternoon because I actually want to have some time with my family. So can you see those dynamics and how they, as I said, how they feed off of one another, which is why it's called the drama triangle, because drama feeds off drama. So stressed client, frustrated manager or boss, and then of course the overzealous agent. Can you see yourself playing out the drama triangle dynamic in your work life? And you notice how easy it is to step into one of those roles. You're not even aware of it until you're aware of it. The thing is that there is a cost to these unconscious roles. And I really like this image with the draining battery, this overextension of self, this exhaustion and fatigue on every level. It builds resentment. It also builds dependency on others to help you feel better, to help you re-energize. It has one of the aspects is blaming others. This leads to conflict. There's also reduced accountability, because when there's lots of finger pointing outside, or when there's lots of rescuing and trying to hold other people's stuff, then you're not being responsible for your own stuff. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I work with is how can we take radical responsibility for our own stuff? If each one of us human beings on this planet were to take radical responsibility for our own stuff, wow, I think we would have an entirely different planet. And then, of course, these unconscious roles, they reduce trust. They reduce trust in ourselves. When we constantly negate ourselves by saying yes when we mean no, or by blaming others when we're not taking responsibility for self, or by kind of throwing words at others when actually we don't mean it like that, we break that trust with ourselves and with others around us. So here's the thing. The goal is not to stop being human, because life happens. These experiences happen. You have clients, you have principals, you have managers, you have family members, you have friends. Life happens all of the time. This is not about being perfect. Nobody expects anybody to be perfect. Not even the gurus that make frigging millions are perfect. I can absolutely guarantee you, as you will know with the whole Charles Epstein stuff that's coming to light nowadays, nobody is perfect. So it's not about not being human. It's not about being perfect, but it is about recognizing these aspects sooner so that they no longer control you, so that you can control them, because awareness creates choice. And the more choice you have, the more you have the ability to lead the life that you really deserve to and want to lead, because you are able to be the captain of your own emotional boat or ship rather than letting life do that for you. So, in our next session, I'm going to be sharing with you how to shift from reaction to taking responsibility, and leaving you with this reflection. So, which role do you most commonly step into under pressure, as I asked you before, and how can you choose differently from now on, knowing that from this moment that you have more information in your toolbox? What different choices will you make? Thank you so much. I hope that that was useful and that you've been able to at least grab some pearls out of that. And yeah, wishing you a really, really beautiful and powerful Thursday. The last Thursday of June. Oh my word, I cannot believe it. From next week, we are into the second half of 2026, and looking forward to seeing you at the next session at the end of July.
Wow, Svenja, that was extremely powerful, and it really got us all thinking that we need to fix ourselves and we need to get out of that negative zone and try and look at where we actually are within that triangle. So, Svenja, thank you very much for doing the talk today. What we will be doing is we will be emailing you all the contact details for everybody so that you can reach out, and Svenja will assist you going forward. But please diarize those talks. It is amazing. And thank you very much, Svenja.